Hello, it's time for another episode of Discipleship Today. My name is Pastor Bob Benson. I pastor Christ Lutheran Church out in Bemis Point, New York on Route 430. We have been using John as a discipleship text because of this special relationship that Jesus had with John. John referred to himself as the beloved disciple. But we know that Jesus loved some other people too. One of those people that he really loved was Lazarus. And Lazarus was the brother of Mary and Martha. He had become ill, and we've been talking about that for the last couple of episodes. We're jumping in again to John 11. I'm going to start reading in verse 28. We're going to read another short section in this story of Lazarus. When she had said this, she went and called her sister Mary, saying in private, "The teacher is here and is calling for you." And when she heard it, she rose quickly and went to him. Now Jesus has not yet come into the village, but was still in the place where Martha had met him. When the Jews who were with her in the house, consoling her, saw Mary rise quickly and go out, they followed her, supposing that she was going to the tomb to weep there. Now when Mary came to where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet, saying to him, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." And Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come with her also weeping. He was deeply moved in his spirit and greatly troubled. And he said, "Where have you laid him?" They said to him, "Lord, come and see." Jesus wept. So the Jews said, "See how he loved him." But some of them said, "Could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man also have kept this man from dying?" This is an interesting section of Scripture, and we're jumping into the middle of this story, which I've been talking about for the last several weeks. There's this interesting exchange going on, saying to her in private, "The teacher is here and calling for you." Martha tells Mary that the teacher's there, and she rushes out to see him. And the crowd supposed that there was something else going on there, but Jesus had come into this village, and they'd met in this place, and he was watching her being consoled. But Jesus cared for Lazarus, but I don't know if that's why he wept. He saw all this distress going on around, and he had had this exchange with Martha already about being risen from the dead. The whole Pharisees and Sadducees were probably bickering back and forth about the resurrection and the life. And I think he saw hopelessness. And what distressed him was the hopelessness that surrounded this incident. He did love Lazarus. He loved Mary and Martha. He'd spent some time with them. And the hopelessness is what really touched him. And I think that's why he wept. We as believers in Jesus Christ don't ever have to be hopeless. Now, there are times that we feel down. And I'm going to be honest with you. I did a military funeral yesterday in Ohio. And I was feeling a little down. When you stand amongst thousands and thousands of stones, all lined up in that military precision, and hear the 21 gun salute, then taps played, there's something that touches your soul. And for me, I served in the United States Army, the United States Army Reserve. I was down a little bit this morning, but I was also encouraged in it that there are so many men and women out there that have given part of their lives, writing a blank check to this country, up to and including the cost of their lives, to defend the freedoms that we have here today. And the slide that our country is on, it makes me desperately cry out to God. Oh God, save our nation. Save us from ourselves. And I think this is a little bit that was going on. Jesus saw this hopelessness in Mary and Martha, and he wanted to alleviate the hopelessness. We are surrounded by hopelessness in our world today. How are we being like Jesus Christ? How are we working in a way to alleviate the hopelessness? I preached the gospel at this funeral, and that's what I've been called to do. You've been called to do something for the kingdom. We're all parts of the body, and we need to engage in our giftedness to influence the kingdom. My encouragement for you today, my discipleship for you today, is figure out what God has called you to do and engage in it. And when you do that, there's joy that pours from it. For Discipleship Today, my name is Pastor Bob Benson. Thank you for joining us.